live, on location. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh here on a special Earth Day edition. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. On Earth Day, we are live at Governor Nelson State Park on the north side of Madison. For those watching the stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twix. That's a combination of Twix and X, Twitter. All those streaming YouTube as well. You can see a beautiful shot right now of the Lake Mendota behind us, some of the woods here at Governor Nelson State Park. The rain has cleared off a little bit. We appreciate that. And it's going to be a great day here at Governor Nelson State Park. Mr. Zommers, how are things across the lake in downtown Madison at the world headquarters? Sun's starting to come out down there as well, right?
Yeah, it's very similar to yesterday, the last couple of days, though. A little bit dreary, but I mean, I'm okay with that.
Right.
And where the temperature is slowly rising.
It's going to be a great day in the afternoon here for a beautiful Earth Day all across the state of Wisconsin. Tomorrow is going to be spectacular, they say. Always spectacular. He joins us every Tuesday now. We appreciate that. He has a brand new program debuting tomorrow with our new lineup on the Civic Media Radio Network. He'll now be on from 6 until 9 across the Civic Media Radio Network. Mornings with the aforementioned Pat Kreitlow. Pat joining us from Lake Wissota in a parka. Is it that cold up there, Pat?
Parka, hoodie. I got my gloves. I mean, I'm looking at you guys there, and it was perfectly fine in here before, but just another beautiful, warm spring afternoon here on Lake Wissota, right?
It's amazing how much weather can change just across the state of Wisconsin.
What's the wind chill over there? It looks like there should be ice on the lake there.
No, the waves are lapping the shores here, the beach. Right. It's a beautiful day here.
Okay, all right.
Pat, it's great to have you along, and I appreciate the shtick. That's always appreciated. We have someone here I know that you're very familiar with as a former state legislator, a former state senator a few years ago. Tia Nelson joins us here at the desk right now. Of course, she is the daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, for which this park is named. Tia, we talked to you last year via StreamYard. I can't tell you what an honor and pleasure it is to have you here at the desk in person. And what does your family refer to this as?
Papa's Park.
Papa's Park.
Papa's Park. That's why the grandkids especially.
I think it's fantastic. Pat, your time in the legislature, you know how important things such as the Noel Nelson stewardship is, legislation like that. During your time in the state Senate, did you ever have a chance to work on these issues directly, or were they just not in line during your time in the Senate?
Well, the problem, as I told the story again this morning on our program, was that my time in the legislature coincided with the Great Recession. That the markets had collapsed, the economy. We were facing not the $4 billion surplus that they're dealing with now, but a $3 to $6 billion shortfall that we had to make up. And so there was a lot of pushback on any kind of investment and things like this, to the point where, and again, as I've told the story previously, when my legislation passed to name Highway 63, for Gaylord Nelson running from Clear Lake up to Ashland, the only way that they would allow that earmark is if it had $0 attached to it to put up any markers. And near as I know, there are still no markers on that road anywhere in all the years that Republicans have led the legislature ever since. So I would love to see investment for at least that much, and then so much more into Knowles Nelson, and to continue to have a thriving stewardship program in the state.
Yeah. Are there still no markers, Tia?
All right. I knew that. Thanks, Pat, for your efforts to honor my father. I'm grateful to you for that, and enjoyed working with you in the legislature. I knew the highway was designated, and I had no idea that there weren't. I confess, I had no idea that there was no signage up yet.
Well, I think that's something we should, Pat and I, we can get our high horses here for what it's worth. We should gin this up. You got 3 hours now, Pat, starting tomorrow. We can
no kidding.
do a campaign for this.
Hey.
Does Pat, do you know how to bake? What about a cookie sale?
Right?
Yeah.
I can do that. Whatever it takes, would be happy to do that. So we can talk about that tomorrow during the 3-hour extravaganza that I'm very much looking forward to. And then Jane Matinier and Greg Bach will follow from 9 to 11. And we come find you in the mid-afternoons now, which lets you sleep in a little bit more. I hope you're still going to do your Wednesday 7:50 appearances with me.
I will be up and on your show, yes.
Maybe in your little footy pajamas if we have to wake you up that early. But
I'll be up having coffee.
Okay.
Pat, before we let you go, you're based up there in the beautiful Chippewa Valley. It's the 125th anniversary of Wisconsin State Parks. Talk just a minute about what this means across the state, but particularly in your neck of the woods for northern Wisconsin. So many fantastic Wisconsin state parks up there.
It all comes back to the word stewardship, which is convenient for the program name, but it really is part of Wisconsin's DNA. Or at least it was for many until not that terribly long ago. Stewardship is a moral commitment of leaving a place in as good or better condition than you found it. And it was something that was and should remain second nature to most of us. There are always going to be people that want to, tear something down because, one more strip mall is okay, or one more golf course is okay. And, those wetlands are just swamps anyway. No, they're not. We've learned how much value is in those, especially with more flash flooding because of a changing climate. And we just simply have that about us, that we've appreciated our clean water. We see what it's like around other parts of the country, how much they would give to have the clean water we have here. And yet we have threats like never before from PFAS, from industrial runoff, from farm runoff, from high-capacity deep wells. And so we lead in the pipes. So we always have to be mindful that stewardship is an ongoing thing. You never take it for granted. You never take for granted the investments in infrastructure in places like our national parks, like our state parks, like our county parks. And as long as there's still leading voices like the people that surround you down there, then Wisconsin will continue to be in good hands because we have people that will not ever take stewardship for granted in this state.
Pat, we appreciate your time with us today. Appreciate your time in the state legislature as a Democrat. We're going to talk to former Republican State Senator Rob Coles at the bottom of the hour. And again, I just feel very strongly that this should be a nonpartisan, or at least a bipartisan event here. That, we all, last time I checked, when we go out in the boat, the fish don't ask which party we belong to in order to bite, or the trees don't ask what party you belong to when they give off their oxygen. So to me, I just think this is something that brings Wisconsin together and is part of what makes Wisconsin great. We appreciate your time, Pat. Again, people can tune into you another additional hour starting tomorrow mornings with Pat Kreitlow across the network, 6 until 9. Thanks, Pat. Have a wonderful day up there in Lake Minnesota.
Right. Take care. See you later.
All right. Thanks a lot. Pat Kreitlow, everybody. Again, joining us at the table right now, Tia Nelson, daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson. We also have at the table as well Mike Ring. He is the park manager here at Governor Nelson State Park. And Drew Howick, who is the president. Did I say that right? All right, very good. I want to make sure I get it right. The president of the Friends of Governor Nelson State Park. Tia, give us just a moment, because you're not just the daughter of a former U.S. Senator and Governor. You, in your own right, have worked on environmental issues on the land trust, as I get it right, in the state of Wisconsin. You've done so much on your own, but on this day, as the daughter, just give us a personal reflection of what it means to be here at this beautiful state park named after your dad and his legacy.
Well, I'm delighted to be here and be on your program. I'm grateful to you, Todd, for doing the show, and I'm happy to be back again, this time in person. I love this park. I frequently come out here on New Year's Day and do some reflections on what I hope and aspire for in the new year. Try to buy my park sticker and get all of its value for the year. And there's a sign right behind us with the history and story of my father's life and a timeline of some of the milestones. I'd like to go over there and look at that, usually give him a little kiss. So it's always a reflective time for me and a time of celebration. Think about the fact that Papa's original idea, this idea was to have teachers across the country speak to their students and interact and teach with their kids one day on the environment. And it was successful beyond his wildest dreams. 20 million people gathered on that day, largest public event in American history at the time. And I think it's a reminder to all of us of our connection with nature. And it is also, I think, an important reminder of the power of individual action and the fact that you don't always know the outcome. Papa couldn't have predicted that Earth Day would be an enduring celebration 55 years after its inception, and that would delight him, and so I get a lot of satisfaction from that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Mike Ring, you're the park manager here at Governor Nelson State Park. You were so kind as to come on with us last year, and we appreciate you coming back today. Talk a little bit about this from a park manager standpoint. 125 years of Wisconsin State Parks here, and being so close to the city of Madison, you get folks from all over the state. But this is a really well used park, and I mean that in the best sense. You have all kinds of folks out here, correct?
Yeah. Last year since I've been here, we've averaged between 300,000 and 355,000 people.
Wow.
Coming to the park. It is a day-use park with a boat launch in the beach area. I'm the only full-time year-round staff that we have here. And I can't do it alone, though. So I have paid staff, and I have a lot of volunteers who help out here and really do the work that I can't. I can't alone, and we can't together.
Talk about a couple of the things that if people want to, if they're listening to us on WMDX in Madison or WRCE in Richland Center, those are easy day events. But people listening all across the state that might come down to Madison for one reason or another, I'd encourage them to come out here, discover this park, talk about some of the things from the beaches to the trails. There's something for every. It's not just come out and hang out at the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of things to do here.
There is, yeah. I mean, it's 4 seasons of fun as well. So we have 7 miles of hiking trails here in the park, through prairies, through Oak Savannah, through Oak Woodland, traveling next to 2,000 years of burial mounds. So we have the beach area and picnic area, of course. We have a pet swim area on the other side of the lake for people to let their dogs go for a little swim.
I love it.
We have, in the wintertime, it turns into cross-country ski trails.
Yeah.
And so we groom the ski trails whenever we can, which hasn't been great this past couple of years, to be honest. But, we do get 4 seasons of fun out of them as well.
Very good. We're going to come back and talk about the Friends group here. It takes a village, as they say, and there's some great friends that are supporting Governor Nelson State Park. Our show rolls on live here from Governor Nelson State Park in Madison, Wisconsin. Awesome. You guys are just all naturals.
This is where we pretend to have like a conversation when
Well, we are
on the radio.
just so you know, we are still streaming live. So the people, we call this the secret show. So the people that tune in the stream, they can hear extra. But so don't say anything you wouldn't want the public to hear.
Okay. I guess all right.
You can't talk about me, Mike.
I won't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave all the gory details to the part.
Well, I was super excited when I drove up to see the sign, the signage, which was new to me, and I ran into one of your LTEs, who's earnest and fresh and excited about the volunteer work you guys are doing today. And you gotta love Wisconsin. I said, anybody know where Mike is? It was like someone got on the radio and found you and sent you over. And I was like, yeah.
Mike, you've got to meet somebody at noon down at the shelter. I'm like, all right, John, yeah. I'm like, it's not on my calendar, but I think, I can squeeze it in. I'll just get out of
Your days, every day goes as planned, right?
Every day goes as planned.
Pronounce your last name, please.
Howick.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Mike will often say he gets in at 8 or 7, whatever it is, and he says sometimes whatever's on his to-do list, it doesn't even get touched.
Yeah. It's completely different by
Stuff
7:15.
Yeah.
And then I'm somewhere in Portage looking for a trailer or whatever is going on that day.
That's great.
Scout workshops after dark, and the new Camp Wild.
How long has your machine been down, Mike?
Birthday parties,
Too long. I'm waiting for a printer
20
on it, and
seconds.
it's
All right, here we go, folks.
yeah,
Okay.
too long.
I don't want to get arrested.
Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to.
Wouldn't that be an irony?
Yeah, that would be. It was, yeah. Well, the good news is it's a 12-month pass now and not a yearly sticker.
Right.
So if you bought it today, it'd be good until next.
Oh, that's awesome.
On my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my
Melted
eyes
kingfisher right over there.
can make me
Hovering
cry.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Little John Denver here for an Earth Day for you. We are live on location at one of the great state parks in the state of Wisconsin, Governor Nelson State Park, on the north side of Lake Mendota here in Dane County. And our park, this is why you want to have a good park manager around who knows nature, because you point out what are the birds, what's
Yeah,
flying around.
melted kingfisher was just flying over here, and I haven't seen one of those this spring. So
Look at
good
that.
to see that they're starting to come back.
Glad to have you along. Mike Rain, of course, is the park manager here at Governor Nelson State Park. We have Tia Nelson here. So very honored. She is the daughter of former governor and U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, Gaylord Nelson, who, of course, is the founder of Earth Day, in which this park is named. And right now I want to bring on Drew Howick here at the table with us live on location. He is the president of the Friends of the Governor Nelson State Park. Howard, thank you so much Drew, thank you so much for being here. And tell us just a little bit about your role as president of the Friends.
Well, there's been a group of us, anywhere from 5 to 20, that have been showing up once a week for 48 weeks a year on Tuesdays. And we've been doing whatever the seasons require. So right now we're starting to get into invasive seasons. We just came off of brush cutting and so on. We've been doing this for almost 10 years. And we had I'll put the quote, opportunity come up, because there's a structure on this property called the Hogan House. It was built in 1950, and it's the only existing structure, closed structure from Camp Wakanda, Olbrich, and Indianola.
Wow.
From the 70s. It's the only structure that remains. And one time we were looking at it, and Mike says, yeah, I've got to figure out, are we going to take this down or are we going to renovate it? And we all looked at each other and said, we're going to renovate it. And Mike says, well, we need money to renovate it, and this doesn't fall into the DNR's priority list.
All right.
And I said, okay, well, how do we do it? And he goes, well, you got to form a friends group.
Uh-huh.
I said, okay. So I brought in a builder and an architect. We looked at the structure. They both said, yep, you got to keep it. So we formed last summer a 501c3 called the Friends of Governor Nelson State Park. And we are incorporated. We're legal. We have a brochure right here.
Look at this, right?
Todd.
My hand's right here. We'll take a photo of that and put up on our website. Thank you so much.
And so we have been raising funds. So we just met the first goal of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, and so we matched it, and we now have the funds to start the renovation project of that Hogan House.
Wow.
And our goal is to make that an accessible structure where people can come and use it as a warming house, a meeting house, school kids come together, an educational center. The vision is evolving of it, but goal one was to start the process.
I just think I love every part about this, because unfortunately, monies haven't kept up, in my opinion, on the state legislature side in putting money into state parks. But I think this is just the quintessential Wisconsinite in a group of you saying, look, okay, fine. I mean, we should be doing this another way, but we're not going to let opportunity go by, and folks come together and raise money and save part of this history in the state of Wisconsin, because once those things are gone, they're gone.
Right, and many of these buildings, if you go back and look at the research of the pictures of Camp Indianola, Wakanda, and Olbrich, there used to be many structures, and people from all over the nation used to come to these different camps. Some were Y camps, some were religious affiliated camps, and so on. So this property held 3 different camps for 20, 30 years. And had structures, but all of those have gone away except for the one that I mentioned.
Tyler, listening to us in Columbia County on WMDX, says, being north of Madison, Nelson State Park is my closest and my favorite park to ride the bike and to enjoy the weather. It's nice having the park system, and it's why my motorcycle also gets a state park sticker. So how about that? It doesn't matter how you get here, whether it's a bike or car or canoe or however, or kayak across the lake. Everybody can come and enjoy this park.
That's right. And dogs are welcome as long as they're on leash,
Yeah, as
Mike
long
will
as they're on
point
leash.
out.
Right.
You're right. And what we've noticed is the number of visitors to this park, starting with COVID, of course, really has increased.
And if people want to get involved and either in giving or in action, you have a website here called, it's just Friends of Gov, G-O-V, Nelson, NELSON.org. And Mr. Zomers can put that up on our website there. Again, it's friendsofgovnelson.org. Any other things coming up? About 3 minutes left here before the bottom break. Any other events you want to plug for the Friends?
Well, we have our first annual meeting on May 8th in the town of Westport, and we have Jim Buchholz, who's a former park supervisor. He'll be speaking about his visits of all state park. He just put out a new book, 400-page tome of all the state parks in the state of Wisconsin. So he'll be speaking. That's a big event for us. And then we have the 50th anniversary celebration of this park is on, I'm looking at Mike, July. Yeah.
It's in July.
July?
Yeah, it'll be the it's the 50th anniversary of when the first parcel was purchased for the park.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating 50 years this year, when the state is also celebrating 125 years of state parks.
Yeah.
So it's a big year for us.
Mike, about a minute here. Any other things that you'd like to make sure we know across statewide about this particular park coming up here in 2025?
We always have a big Earth Day celebration, like today, getting the governor's office out to do work and to do a lot of things here.
Governor Evers was here earlier, right?
Yeah. Him and all the secretary's staff were all here, and we're always looking for more volunteers. We're always looking for members of our friends group. We're always looking to hire staff and for people to help out here. It's a wonderful park where we do a lot of teaching, and we can hire and teach people to do whatever they want on the land that makes them happy. And it's just a really good, accessible park.
Tia, of 30 seconds or so. Did your dad envision this particular park yet when he was still alive?
No, he didn't. I was here with him for the ribbon cutting, and I don't remember
That
what
was
year
1986, I think, if my shovel is correct.
Yeah, if you're sure. Yeah, well, I had the ribbon.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Renee presented, like it was some royal piece of fabric. It was so sweet of her, the ribbon that came from the ribbon cutting. But he was delighted, and the original idea around the Outdoor Recreation Action Program, which became Knowles Nelson, was that there'd be outdoor recreation accessible to everyone across the state, and there are projects in every corner of the state, and that's great for everybody.
Mike Ring, Park Manager, Drew Howick, the President of the Friends Group, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. Stay with us, come back, talk with Tia and former Republican State Senator Rob Coles. He's part of the reason that my sticker is good for an entire year. We'll come back and talk with him about that. We're live on location at Governor Nelson State Park on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Now, Todd, if I'd had the chance to take over, I was dying to ask
Great
you.
conversation.
I found out this
92.7
woman, Orson
WMDX.
Welles, was at one of those camps.
Really?
Right? Yeah, the camp
Jump
that
in
you're.
anytime, yeah.
What do you know about that story?
With a low dollar value and tight margins and multiple crops in the world,
Wow.
the U.S. could see some increased buys. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and John Heinberg, a market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, is here to explain why he is watching very closely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how all these years went by, and I didn't know that,
Oh, I'm getting blasted again.
Oh, there's Rob. I can hear him.
Don Sanford's book on Fourth Lake.
Yeah. I don't know it.
He takes a look at the Dodoma segment here. He has pictures of all the camps that were here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
down the road, hopefully we'll be updating all the interpretation here.
Hello, can you hear us?
Include some of that backstory of the camps that were here and how they came
Is
to
this
state park.
the level you wanted at?
Senator Coles, can you hear us?
This is great.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much. Thank
Thanks
you.
for your
Thank you.
service, Mike. Nice to meet you, Drew. Thanks for all you do. I'll come out and volunteer. Yeah.
I'll second that. Thanks, gentlemen.
Amanda, are you able to turn up?
Yeah, now it needs to come up, Amanda.
Are you able
Thanks
to
for
turn
your help.
up, Rob Coles?
I'll push his mic closer.
Okay. How is that, Todd, Tia?
I can hear you, Rob. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my honor.
Hey, Rob. It's nice to hear your voice.
Well,
here.
Tia, it's great to be on the show with you and Todd.
Yeah.
I will. We'll start out just talking maybe about the park sticker legislation, and we can just have an open discussion. We can get into the stewardship fund a little bit, and just talk,
Sure.
broadly about the need to look at these issues in a bipartisan fashion. Like I said in the first segment,
Sure.
I mean, I my God, I mean, people that want to make this a state park into some partisan issue. I mean, like the fish don't ask what party you vote for when you go out in a boat. I mean, it's just, so
We all
Well,
need
what's-
to breathe clean air and drink clean water.
yeah.
15 cents at 1801 hundredweight, and June contracts are down 10 cents at 1718 hundredweight. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm with high temperatures today making it to the mid-60s. Drying things out tonight, the clouds actually start to clear, and for tomorrow, we warm things up with high temperatures tapping 70. More rain rolls in by the afternoon and brings some thunderstorms with it, too. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
Hey, at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing from their mattress. A good night's rest, am I right?
What's
It's
your
not
bullseye over there
rocket
for?
science.
Pardon?
You don't need a physics
bullseye?
genius to make
Oh,
your
that's just
futuristic
the
space bed.
that's the
We just need someone
Starlink
to listen
router.
to
So
what
that's
you want
connected to
and
the
knows the
satellite
materials
dishes
that will
sitting
get you
down there in the
Oh,
sky.
I see. Yep.
And that brings up the feed, and that turns it into Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So
And
it does look like a bullseye, though. You're right.
Mattress genius.
It's
American-made, welcome to
I'm not so happy that
The John and Gordy Show.
Elon Musk owns it, but I gotta admit it works really, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, because I can take this battery pack and the Starlink, and I can basically do the show from anywhere.
Wow.
30
Wow.
seconds.
All right, thank you. Can you move your mic just a bit closer, please? There you go. Awesome, thanks.
How's that?
Yeah.
Great.
When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky, where my parents were born. And there's a backwards old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the
Welcome
Green
back to the
River,
Todd Allbaugh
where
Show,
paradise
live on
lay.
location on this Earth Day at Governor Nelson State Park here on the north shores of Lake Mendota in Dane County. Glad to have you along for a special edition. I'm joined here at the table by Tia Nelson, the daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, who founded Earth Day and for whom this wonderful state park is named. It really has turned into a beautiful day, Tia.
It sure has. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you here. Happy to have our next guest as well. He is a former Republican state senator that represented the greater Green Bay area up until January, the longest-serving Wisconsin state senator in the state Senate, certainly longest-serving Republican state senator, and now getting ready to announce the Packers selection at the NFL draft, former state senator Rob Coles, who joins us from our great studios at WGBW. Senator Coles, thanks for being here.
Well, Todd, I got to tell you, when I got a call from Tia a few days ago, I thought, I have to accept this draft. She drafted me here. That's the word of the day up here. We're all abuzz in Green Bay, and we're going to have tons of people. And I just want to say the Packers are pretty darn sustainable. This is Earth Day, and it's an honor to be on the show with Tia, who's a classy gal that carries the mission that her father started so well. And it's just great to be on the show with her and thank her and honor her dad on Earth Day. And it's great that you're at, Governor Nelson Park. And the parks, we gotta make our parks vibrant, and they've fallen down. Anybody that's been in a lot of parks, so that's why stewardship, which funds the parks and many other things, municipal trails and all sorts of infrastructure, does so many things for outdoor recreation and tourism and bringing people to the state. It's a critical issue to continue it because the fund is ending, and it's a flashpoint in the state budget. I'm optimistic that it'll get done, but it's important to talk about what this stewardship fund, the Knowles Nelson, Governor Knowles, a Republican, Governor Nelson years ago, a Democrat, and that indicated the bipartisan aspect of this whole fund and what we do for our outdoor recreation resources. So it's great to be here and emphasize that because it's got to get done.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to you, Rob, for joining us today, and also just want everyone to know what a pleasure it was working across the aisle to get a bunch of important environmental stuff for all Wisconsinites done, working together. I loved our time in the legislature, and you did a lot to protect special lands and clean air and clean water, and I'm forever grateful to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being such a classy person and mentioning that, and I thank you for your ongoing commitment. A lot of people could just go off into retirement and do nothing, but you're out there working it, and generations have to be reminded. How do we pay for all this stuff? And making it the special state that it is, and making it available not only to the people that live here, but to tourists and have a wonderful experience. So thank you for everything you do in regard to that, Tia. Thank you so much.
The last 3 minutes should be an example for people who don't get it or don't know or didn't have the privilege that I had of kind of seeing behind the curtain how the legislation, how the sausage is made. This is real, you guys, listening all across the state. I've known Senator Coles a long time. I worked for Dale Schultz in the state Senate, another guy who is a conservation-minded guy. And what you're hearing from Senator Coles is not just because he's here on Earth Day. He was saying this stuff when he was a Republican state senator. And Tia, I've known for a long time. And forgive me, Tia, tell us the official title when you were working for the state. Was it the Land Wisconsin Trust?
It's an awkward title, which is why you can't remember it. I was executive secretary to the Wisconsin Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, which is why nobody remembers it.
But you. And that's something Senator Coles knows, because I would go up and Senator Coles, you can tell part of the story if you want, but we would go up when Senator Ellis was president of the Senate, and Rob Coles used to hang out there, and Luther Olson and Dale Schultz, and Mike Ellis would sit there and say, we have got to take care of Tia, and I mean, but you wouldn't find anybody that was more of a Republican conservative, old school, than Mike Ellis, but he was very, very proud to work with you, Tia, and keeping that very important part of our state alive.
Yeah, Senator Ellis was a great leader and a great friend, and I was proud of our friendship, and he helped advance a lot of good causes. He's sorely missed. And when the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, think about it for a moment. My father was the originator of an idea that it had a different name, the Outdoor Recreation Acquisition Program, funded by a penny a pack tax on cigarettes. It was some years later, and Papa's governor, it's wildly popular among urban residents, rural residents, Democrats, Republicans, independents, and there was a project for everyone in the state to enjoy the places that make Wisconsin so special. And the program was so wildly popular that the Republican governor who succeeded my father grew, strengthened, and expanded the program, Warren Knowles, which is why it's named after my dad and Warren Knowles. And there were two great leaders from different parties working together to protect the places that make Wisconsin so special. And Rob's done that, and Ellis did that. And you mentioned Luther Olson. I have a lot of respect for all of them, and they've really helped do important things to protect nature and public lands in Wisconsin.
Senator Coles, explain from a former state senator standpoint, with the Nelson Knowles Stewardship Fund, what does this actually do for Wisconsinites, not just in your former Senate district, but what does this mean for the average Wisconsinite to have this there? What does it do for them in their real lives?
Well, it helps keep the parks better maintained. We're talking water infrastructure. There were a number of bills in recent years that actually supplemented Knowles Nelson because there wasn't enough money to do everything that needed to be done. As far as water infrastructure, trails, campgrounds, beaches, any of those could be related to some like municipal areas also that they're trying to apply to the fund. It's a competitive situation. Typically, you've got to have some seed money in there. So Knowles Nelson doesn't pay for the whole thing. It would pay for a significant part of it. So there's all sorts of wild areas and hunting grounds and places that people can both hunt and fish that aren't necessarily state parks, state forests. It's just a whole panorama of things that make our state, I would say, so vibrant and special. People want to get out and do things. It's warming up finally, except for you folks in the winter coats there. You're a little bit cold there today.
A little windy, by the way.
We have an incredible number of people that fish, incredible number of people that hunt. They need places to do that in a growing state. It's not 1850 when there were hardly anybody here. So now we're up to 5.5 million people. So the importance of the fund, it's not just the maintenance part, it's buying those precious parcels when they come available so the people of the state and the people that want to visit our state can get in there and recreate in various ways, hunt, fish, walk, trails, you name it. It's such a multifaceted thing, and without this resource, we'd be diminished greatly. So it's really a powerful tool to make things happen with friends groups that want to do one thing or another. And I want to applaud all the friends groups that help make our state resources so vibrant.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, Rob, thanks for talking about the importance of the infrastructure in our public lands. And it's not just our state parks, it's state forests, which are producing timber and helping a critical economic engine in northern Wisconsin. All of those lands open for hunting and fishing. But here at Governor Nelson State Park, the boat launch, which gets heavy usage in the summertime here in beautiful Lake Mendota, on the shores of beautiful Lake Mendota, that boat launch was built with money from the Stewardship Fund. And so, I read a statistic the other day. There is a stewardship acquired parcel of land within a short driving distance of 99% of the citizens of Wisconsin. And nature-based tourism is a huge economic driver in the state as well. So it brings in a lot of value beyond the aesthetics and beauty of being in nature, having the opportunity to hunt and fish, and so on.
We're talking with Tia Nelson, who is the daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson here at Governor Nelson State Park on location, and former Republican State Senator Rob Coles, who joins us from our station WGBW in Green Bay. Senator Coles, I want to pick up on a couple of things that you started out saying. Tia was expanding on them. Number one, the Stewardship Fund, and again, I'm not trying to make this specifically partisan, but I'm trying to address things that I know come up on a partisan level. Some people may say, well, this is basically just welfare for the environmentalists. You said it. These are seed monies to start. And then you have people like we had on earlier with Drew, the president of the Friends group here. They're not getting paid anything. They're coming out here and supplementing that seed money with volunteer work and raising private money on their own. So there's a public and private match, which I think is important. Right. And number two, Senator Coles, I don't want to be too partisan, but, okay, you might say, well, more Republicans are tending to be hunters out there. I don't think that's always true, but that's a stereotype out there. These monies for stewardship, look, if you're a guy or a gal that's a pheasant hunter or a turkey hunter or a deer hunter or a fisherman, these monies help you recreate.
Well, absolutely. And recreate in parks at certain designated times of the year where it's not recommended that you hike in there, that there's deer hunting going on in parks certain times of the year, and so on, whether it's pheasants or whatever the season might be. So we need to have these parcels available for folks because they're becoming less available.
Yeah.
As the state grows, there's more population, so open spaces are critical. And I guess we know not everybody supports it. But when you explain to them all the different things that Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund does, I think they understand, yeah, we want that. This is something that I might do, a person might say. It's not just for hikers.
Well, I was going to say, go ahead,
and it's not just for someone cross-country skiing, although all these things are important.
Right.
It's for the hunter. It's a fisherman. Yeah. People need a place to go. Up in this part of the state, okay, a number of those boat launches have been paid for with stewardship money. How do you get your boat in the water? Or if you're going with someone else, it's like you got to have access points.
Right.
So this does that. This fund does that. And these things aren't necessarily cheap, and they're hard to pay for within municipal budgets oftentimes because they tend to be one-time hits.
Bingo.
It's a multifaceted, powerful tool that needs to be funded, and I'm optimistic that there are people working on this.
About a minute
trying to negotiate something with the governor, and I'm hopeful that it happens.
Yeah, I think something can be worked out. I mean, Ducks Unlimited is a hunting group that's a big advocate of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund. World Wildlife Federation, the Wisconsin Wildlife Federation has over 200 chapters of hunters and fishermen and fisherwomen in the state. It is wildly popular. The polling data of Wisconsin citizens, regardless of party affiliation, the polling data, there's overwhelming support for this fund and what it does for the quality of life of all the citizens in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and again, not to put too fine of a point on it, but I mean, some people might say, well, native grasses, that's just a lefty thing. No, you need native grasses to have wildlife, for goodness sake. As it turns out. All right, come on back. We'll talk about why my park sticker I bought today is good for a year. Thanks to our guest, Senator Coles. Come on back at the Allbaugh Show on location at Governor Nelson State Park. That's great. Thank you. This is awesome. We got about a minute and a half here. We'll come back.
What was it used for? Voters will like
Weather's getting good.
Yeah, sun's coming out.
Feels good. I'm lucky you got your jacket. And look how it matched my color scheme.
I know.
I look like, yeah.
Didn't even plan that.
Yes, I know.
So are you two coming to the Packer draft with 300,000 of your friends?
You know, we just didn't get on it soon enough, and the stadium view bar offered us like a banquet room and a side place to broadcast from. But then I'm like, well, then I might as well just stay in Madison, plus haul my equipment through all that. So I'm not. We got Mike Clemens, our sports reporter, there. He's going to do on location reports, but I'm not bringing the show up there.
I just on the way down here, I just went by a church. I forget the name of the church, and it said one of the four horsemen of Notre Dame, Jim Crowley, a resident of Green Bay, was at, so my point in bringing this up is there's a number of entities that have signs up that talk about historical things relating to the Packers. Packers or players that were just football players in the area. So
that's pretty cool. I mean, I was talking
there's a lot going on up here right now.
Right.
It's pretty incredible. I hope the weather cooperates.
All right, thanks. Yeah, no, me too. No, I mean, it's great for Green Bay, great for the state. So pretty cool. All right, here we go.
Very cool.
Whenever I need to leave it all behind, or feel the need to get away.
Welcome back to Governor Nelson State Park, the Todd Allbaugh Show, live on location on this Earth Day here. Need to get away. Get out and, as the kids say, touch grass. No better place to do that than a state park or a state recreation area here. 125-year anniversary of Wisconsin State Parks. We are proud to be here, joined at the desk on location by Tia Nelson, daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, for whom this park is named, and joining us from our great station, WGBW, home of Mino and the Mayor in the morning, and also of Pete Schwaba and Nightlight in the evening. It's going to be the Rob Coles Show. So former State Senator Rob Coles joins us from WGBW. What do you think, Senator? Maybe we bring you on and talk about sailing. We could do a sailing segment now and again. You're a big sailor.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do more now that I'm not in the legislature. And
right.
Yeah,
Rob has spent how many years sailing dangerous waters in the state capital?
And survived barely.
Hey, Rob, I didn't know how that sailing was such a big part of your identity until I emailed you, and what your email address has either Door County Sailor in it or something like that. And I was like, oh, wow, the things I don't know about the guy.
Well, Tia, come on out and go sailing with me sometime.
Oh, boy. I'll do it.
Our mutual friend, my former boss, Dale Schultz, has gone
He's
sailing.
He's been out with me several times.
And Senator Coles refers to Dale as Gilligan. So
okay. I think I might have to check with Dale before I accept Rob's invitation, see what the safety factor is. I don't want to
No, he's a great sailor.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to bring this up because I had not bought my state park sticker yet today, and the machine here is to do it physically manually is out of order, but they have this great QR code, so I scanned it with my phone. I bought my sticker this morning on my phone when I came in, and I want to read you this when it came up. It says a vehicle emission pass is required for entry, goes on and on. The 12-month state park and forest vehicle emission pass is valid for 12 months from time of purchase with unlimited vehicle entry to all properties, unquote, and it goes from there. Now, it used to be you'd buy your sticker and it was just good for the season. Now I get 12 months.
End of the year.
And one of the main author of this is State Senator Rob Coles. Rob, tell us a little bit about how this legislation came to pass and getting it signed.
I became aware of it, and my staff, Evan Miller, and I, we worked this. And right offhand, I can't remember who our assembly author was, but yeah, if you were at a park, mid-year or a month before the end of the year, and you bought the sticker, it was only good for that time to the end of the year. Well, that's ridiculous with computers. So
Right.
now when you buy it, you'll get a whole 12 months from that point. Now that's where computers help us. So we think that this will generate more money for the parks, where it's just more convenient and fairer for citizens that somebody they're taking a walk in the winter, or they're in a park any time of the year. They should be able to get the whole 12 months when they buy that sticker, not wait till January 1. It's ridiculous.
Well,
So,
and I think that's just a great
so this is something
success
probably
story.
should have been done a long time ago, but it wasn't for whatever reason. So now it's there, and we want people to be treated fairly, and we
Well, I
think
think
this will generate more money for the parks too.
Right. I just think it's a great, we hear all the politically sexy headlines of how things fall apart and how Republicans and Democrats are going at each other's throats. I don't think that success stories like this that actually do something for people's daily lives get enough credit, because, my mom was a single mom. My parents got divorced when I was like 10, 11. And one of the few things that my mom could afford doing on the weekends with my sister and I is we went here to Governor Nelson State Park. We went to a couple other state parks in Southwest, Governor Dodge in Southwest Wisconsin, Devil's Lake and Baraboo. You buy a park sticker, and thanks to your legislation, Senator Coles, Republican, bipartisan bill, Democratic Governor Tony Evers signs it into law, and you're making it easier for whether it's single parents or families or whomever to come here and enjoy this park, all these parks in Wisconsin, and as you said, generate revenue. That's a success story, and I think it deserves credit, and I thank you for what you did.
Well, no problem. I was a public servant, and I still plan on being one. As time goes by, but it's one of those small pieces of legislation that will benefit people. Now, there's. Are we going to be talking about any of the?
2 minutes
so it's
left
nice
here.
to have that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's like 2 minutes left while we have Senator Cole still here. Anything you want to touch on? Because I'm not trying to make too much of this, but in today's world, knowing how you guys have worked together all these years, I saw it and took it for granted. And now we just rarely, I'll say, hear about this thing. Your friendship with Senator Coles and other Republicans is real, and you've actually been able to do things.
Well, we all see ourselves as public servants, proud public servants. I'm very honored that next week I'm receiving from the Tommy Thompson, our former Republican governor, who, by the way, acquired more public land as governor than my father did, which is remarkable. He's quite proud of it. And I'm receiving the Tommy Thompson Distinguished Public Leadership Award. I'm super proud about
Congratulations.
that. But there's a lot of us who have worked across the aisle to do the right thing, and certainly Rob is one of those people. And when the first Earth Day happened, the United States Senate adjourned. Everyone went back to their districts. Subsequent to that, a Republican president, Richard Nixon, created the Environmental Protection Agency. The Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act were both passed almost unanimously. And so we have a long, important history of working together on these issues.
Yeah. Rob Coles, State Senator Rob Coles, we appreciate you being here. You're always welcome. Thanks for everything you do. Happy Earth Day to you, my friend.
Yeah, happy Earth Day to you, Todd.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, Rob.
Thanks so much. Come on back. Tia's going to stay with us, be joined by James Edward Mills, talk history of our state parks, take your phone calls as well on Civic Media.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Documentary Cycle, Lori Kesman, and Civic Media's own Rich Locascio joins the show to discuss his second love, wrestling and WrestleMania.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 till 8. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Mike Starr joins us here on Nightlight. Your timing, Goodfellas, Mike. What you just said was an ad lib to De Niro. He's like security, and you're like, you're looking at him.
Well, that whole scene was improvised. And
Wow.
he said, make sure you don't call it ad libbing. It's improvisation. It was quite a process that Martin Scorsese put us through over a few days, that it would come out like that. It wasn't just like, hey, how you doing?
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app. This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
That really is.
This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pushing back on allegations he shared classified or sensitive information with relatives on a second
absolutely
signal app chat.
love
The
that.
defense secretary plays down the significance of the second reported signal chat, in which he shared details of last month's Yemen strike with his wife, his brother, and his attorney.
Informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning.
For those of you watching on the stream, if you had to crank your volume up in the last segment, you're probably about to have to turn it back down.
Are peddling things to try to save their ass.
But those men insist they were loyal to Hegseth and did not share information with reporters. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Following Pope Francis's death, the Vatican announcing the public viewing will begin tomorrow. His funeral set for Saturday. President Trump and the First Lady will attend. Stocks are rebounding a bit a day after plunging due to concerns over President Trump's tariffs and an escalating trade war. This is ABC News.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin.
Let's test your microphone here if we can, James.
Bet.
All right. And is your headset volume, you want it up or down?
It's
or
a little loud.
A little loud. All right. Very good. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. How's that? A little more down. All right. Very good. Tia, yours is still okay?
Yes.
All right. Very good. And yeah, we'll just have a conversation. So there is a streaming component. So what's going out, it goes out live on our stream right now. So just remember don't say anything you don't want the public to hear while we're on the stream. Okay. But then when we go on to the radio, we're broadcast over 11 stations across the state on the radio network.
Totally fair. And I heard you mention that we'll be talking about state parks. I will confess that I'm not an expert on state parks.
That's fine. We've done that a little bit, but we'll talk about national parks.
My primary.
All right. And what's your? I apologize. What's your actual title right now?
James Edward Mills, journalist.
All right, journalist. Okay, very good.
And
you,
James.
Go ahead.
I'm not hearing my. Oh,
there you go.
thank you.
Sorry.
James has an expertise and knowledge base that I envy and do not have. So it is the 125th anniversary of the National Park Service, and he's a National Geographic explorer and a consultant with the Park Service, and has probably forgotten more history than I know. So direct those
on a
questions.
good day.
All right.
But also, in point of fact, I'm a fellow of the Nelson Institute.
All right, very good.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, awesome. And if there's the chance for Todd for you to ask me, there's Earthfest activities occurring on campus all week long, and I'd like to give them a shout out.
We've got an hour, so it's us for an hour, and we'll just kind of talk a little bit about James, your work, and some of those things at first. Then we'll kind of welcome calls, and we worked in a couple of texts already, but we'll see if people want to call and text in questions. Have a
how do the question things happen?
So I have on my phone, I've got our text line on my phone, so I can see the text stuff come in here, and then I also have a chat thing here on the side of our StreamYard, so my producer Aaron can put things in there for me.
And I'm probably going to have to scoot for one next time we go on break, and I just take the headphone off and walk over there for a second.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whatever you need.
Yep.
So, and where's your producer?
He's in our headquarters in downtown Madison. Is right across from the Overture Center.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Same building as the comedy club.
Oh, okay. And he's on the line right now.
Yes.
Actually, I love that building. That's a great spot.
It is. It is cool. And James, you're an independent journalist. You want to
Yes.
be okay? Very
Yeah,
good.
freelance
Freelance
journalist,
all right.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it took the entire drive over for me to understand why we're here.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely day. Yes, it's a beautiful spot. Yes, but oh yeah, it's her dad's namesake.
Right. I'm used to you being a little more quick-witted.
I know,
there.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm usually not so short on the draw, but
No,
but
Todd
it's a great
yeah.
spot. Do you do live remotes like this regularly?
We do. We went to over 25 different cities, towns, and villages last year on
Wow.
location, and we try to do. We did 5 or 6 weeks last year. We call them "What Makes Wisconsin Great" tours.
Nice.
So we go out and we'll do a little bit of tangential politics, but it's more just celebrating. Hey, what are these things in Wisconsin that are unique and draw people together, regardless of party affiliation,
Cool.
and trying to find places of common ground once in a while.
I like that.
And we don't shy away from politics on those tours, but it's not the emphasis, And so, we probably get the most feedback and interaction.
30 seconds.
All right, thank you, Aaron. From those stories, it just like, oh wow, we do have things to celebrate.
Yeah, well, you're not going to have time to tell me, but you told me the origin story, and I want you to tell me again because I don't remember it all. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I hear it better now.
All right,
Thanks.
very good. Here we go.
Yep.
Live on location, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh on location here at Governor Nelson State Park on the North Shores of Lake Mendota in beautiful Dane County. It is Tuesday, April 22nd. It is Earth Day, and it is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Hello, everybody. It is now 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program. Mr. Zommers, our producer and engineer, back across the lake, actually, in downtown Madison at Civic Media World Headquarters. Zommers, I'm not sure if you talked to Brittany Merlot or who at the weather department, but thank goodness the sun has come out here at Governor Nelson State Park. It is a beautiful day here for Earth Day.
Yeah, I called up Brittany and asked her to, just turn up the dial a little bit and bring out the
Appreciate
sun.
that.
And she did, I think.
Well, it was a great hour. In our first hour, we appreciate Mike Ring, the park manager here at Governor Nelson State Park, Drew Howich, who is the president of the Friends Group here at Governor Nelson State Park, and also former Republican State Senator Rob Coles and former Democratic State Senator Pat Kreitlow, all for being here to celebrate in this bipartisan fashion, a part of what makes Wisconsin great. Have another second great hour on tap as well. We are joined again here at the desk by someone who's become a friend, and I admire her. She has been a mentor because I'm just going to say this from a personal standpoint. Tia Nelson, daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, but in your own right, you've been a leader as a secretary overseeing the land trust here in the state of Wisconsin. You've done a number of things philanthropically for this state and as a leader. And Tia Nelson, I appreciate you being here because whether you knew it or not, there were a lot of us in staffers in the state legislature who looked up to you in your time there and said, you know what? You could be tough and passionate without being a jerk, and you can reach across the aisle and work with people you might not always agree with to achieve something. And I think that is a lesson that so many people in politics on both sides of the aisle need to adhere to and learn from, because you achieved so much in your time. I just want to thank you for being that type of person.
Oh, that's really sweet of you, Todd. That's probably one of the best lessons I learned from my father when he served in the state senate prior to being elected governor. He was a minority leader of four 34 other Democrats. That's a body of 33 senators. So, and Melvin Laird, who later became Secretary of Defense under President Richard Nixon, was the majority leader. And they were close friends, and they argued all the time about ideas. But they both showed up for work as dedicated public servants, and they collaborated in really critical ways to make Wisconsin a great state for all of the citizens. And so that's a really big gift that my father gave me, and God knows that I needed some of those special skills during some of those days in the legislature.
No, absolutely true. Also a pleasure to be joined this hour at the desk here on location at Governor Nelson State Park by James Edward Mills, who is a freelance journalist, also a fellow of the Nelson Institute there. James, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you, and welcome to the show.
Todd, thanks a lot for having me. It is a beautiful day. Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day to you. It's marvelous to have you here. Tell us a little bit about, I know that you and Tia are going to be on campus tonight at the University of Wisconsin-Madison for Earth Fest. Tell us a little bit of what brought you two together.
Yes, well, Tia and I have been acquainted and have been friends for a long time. I am a freelance journalist and independent media producer, and I have a focusing on issues of outdoor recreation and environmental conservation with a further specialty in community engagement and social impact as it pertains to how we get more people of different walks of life into the outdoors. And the film that we're going to be screening and discussing tonight is called Planet Walker. And it is the story of Dr. John Francis, who in 1971 witnessed a catastrophic oil spill on the San Francisco Bay. He was so inspired is perhaps the wrong word. He was appalled by this assault on the environment, so much so that he decided that he was going to no longer ride in automobiles. And after having done that for a while, he realized that he was also not making much headway in this issue by arguing about it, so he decided to take a vow of silence. And for almost 17 years, he did not utter a word or ride in an automobile.
Wow.
And as it happens, he actually walked from San Francisco to Oregon, where he got his undergraduate degree in environmental studies, then walked from Oregon to the University of Wisconsin-Madison here in Wisconsin to get his PhD in environmental studies. And he then went on to...
The only person to ever get a PhD from the University of Wisconsin without ever speaking.
Exactly. And he's not even fluent in American Sign Language. So he literally defended his doctoral thesis through pantomime.
Wow.
And in the course of that, he went on to walk to Annapolis, Maryland, where he became an expert on the management of oil spills for the U.S. Navy, and then ultimately became a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations. And he broke his vow of silence in 2001 on Earth Day. And his first words were, "Thanks for being here."
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, and so John and I have actually been good friends for a little while now. He and I became acquainted. He actually gave one of the very first ever TED Talks.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's fascinating.
In fact, he was in the very first round of TED Fellows when they decided that having people talk about their life experiences would be a great way to engage audiences, and his story in particular was very compelling for not having spoken for so long.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps more than anything else, his story is really profound in that he has been able to impact the environmental movement by encouraging people to listen to one another. If you take the time to spend time with John, he will embarrass you by how carefully he listens to what you have to say, and not having spoken for so long is really good training for that.
Yeah.
And I think that his primary message when he engages with audiences all over the country and around the world, that it's really important that we listen to one another and we share our love and passion for the environment by listening to what other people want and need from that environment. And it's by hoping that we will ultimately treat each other a little bit better through kindness, that we can ultimately make the world a better place for everyone.
And don't we need more of that in today's world? So the film is tonight on campus, 7 o'clock. Is that
That's
what
right.
it is?
Yeah.
7
And people still able to come and enjoy that if they want
Yeah.
in the Madison area?
Yeah.
It's registration is free.
Okay.
Just go to, I believe it is Nelson Institute. I'm not even sure what the website URL is.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, if you Google EarthFest,
Earthfest.
University
All
of
right.
Wisconsin Earthfest. It'll be there at 7 o'clock tonight. The film is about 30 minutes, and then James and I are going to be in conversation with John Francis after the film to talk to him a little bit about his experience. He's an amazing guy. It's an amazing story, and his message of kindness and listening, I think, is more important than ever today.
Yeah.
It certainly is. We're speaking with James Edward Mills, a freelance journalist and a fellow of the Nelson Institute, and Tia Nelson, daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, here on Earth Day. Tia, about 4 minutes left here before I have to go to break, but I know you talked a little bit about this last year, but people that might not have joined us then, we hear a lot about Earth Day in the news on this day and leading up to it. But tell us how this started with your dad and just his inception of this. And I just think it's fascinating, again, how one person could have an idea, and here we are 50 years later still celebrating.
Yeah, but that that is for me the most resonant, the coolest sort of gift of reflecting on the Earth Day history is the idea that individual action matters, that you don't always know the outcome of your actions. In my father's case, he he grew up in a small town in northern Wisconsin, Polk County, the town of Clear Lake, and nature was his playground, and it deeply influenced his values and who he grew up to be. And so when he was governor, he launched the program that preceded the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, which we were talking about in the first hour of your program. And it was wildly successful, and it made him very popular, and he was subsequently elected to the United States Senate, went to Washington, D.C., and found, that not many people seemed to care. And he tried a variety of methods to persuade people to care more about the environment, clean air, clean water, land conservation, what the future relationship of the human species with the rest of the earth would look like to be more sustainable. And it just fell, from his perspective, it very much fell on deaf ears. So he flew out to to inspect what was the largest oil spill in American history at the time off the coast of Santa Barbara. And he was reading a magazine on the airplane on the way back from that. And it was talking about how teach-ins on college campuses changed the narrative about the morality of the Vietnam War. And he had an aha moment, which was, I'm going to call for a teach-in on the environment. He gave a speech in the fall of 1969 asking teachers to set aside a day to teach on the environment. Such a simple idea. Think of that. It's just set aside a day and talk about, this is, I think, really the genius of Earth Day, you might say. He didn't prescribe what issues people should be talking about. He invited people in their communities to talk about, do, act, engage in whatever manner felt meaningful to them. And as I mentioned in the first part of your show, it was successful beyond his wildest dreams. This concept of teach-in became Earth Day. Earth Day became a recurring event. Today is the 55th anniversary, which would, be really a surprise and delight to my father.
Well, I always remember because I happen to be 55, so it's just my age. So that's an easy one to remember. Yeah. Although I don't like to always remember my age, but Earth Day is fantastic. We're going to come back, talk more with Tia and James, also at the 125th anniversary of our national park system and the history there. Don't go anywhere. We are live on location at Governor Nelson State Park. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday Earth Day on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation,
Yeah.
92.7 WMDX.
We can come back and touch on the 125th anniversary of the National Park
Actually,
Day.
that's next year.
Oh, is it? All right, next year. All right, okay. Thank you.
No,
we're,
yeah.
we're coming up. We'll say coming up.
No worries. It is coming.
All right.
Yeah. So it's,
Hopefully these days we'll see. No, but Tia said you also have looked at the specific history of Black Americans that helped build the park system, which I'm fascinated by. And again, an underrepresented and untold story or undertold story that I think is just wonderful to talk about. So we could delve into that a little bit.
Writing a book.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about that, and then we'll invite people who want to call and share memories or stories or questions.
I confess I have not heard your show before, but you've got a great delivery. I like it a lot.
Well, you're too kind. Thank you. I started it when I was 17 at a little station in southwest Wisconsin, Richland Center, WRCO. I worked there for a part-time at school, Platteville, for communication, and then got into politics and working for a former state senator and then a congressman. I worked part-time at the station for like 17 years. Then got out.
By the way, Dick and Madison is on the line from when he has a story about when he and his daughter met Gaylord Nelson at a book signing. And
oh, really? Okay.
I thought it would be something you might want to say.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll get to that. Thank you so much. And Aaron, if you could put just wait a call in the StreamYard text in case I miss it.
Too,
all right, thank you much. I appreciate it.
And we got about 20 seconds.
Okay, all right, cool. But thank you. I never thought I'd get back on radio, and this opportunity came about 2.5 years ago. That's awesome. So that's kind of an old dog learning some new tricks.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Sachimo, Louis Armstrong there. What a wonderful world. It is a wonderful world, a wonderful day. Earth Day 2025, the 55th anniversary thereof. We are live on location at Governor Nelson State Park on the north shores of Lake Mendota here in beautiful Dane County, the north side of Madison. So glad to have you along. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Tuesday as well. Here at the desk with us is Tia Nelson, daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, who founded Earth Day and for whom this state park is named. Also at the desk here on location, James Edward Mills, who is a freelance journalist and fellow of Nelson Institute. And guys, I have to share a shout out to my colleague and friend, Jane McNair of McNair on Air, because last year we were out here and I made the faux pas because it was quick and easy. I had a plastic water bottle with me. And Jane said, how can you have a plastic water bottle on? I said, I know. So she, in her kindness and her pity, bought me this wonderful Yeti reusable. And so now we've traveled all over the state together. And so thank you, Jane. I'm Earth Day proper this year, thanks to you with my reusable Yeti. We all have proper, But I think, Tia, that's, again, you said it last segment that your dad, when he started this 55 years ago, just had this idea, hey, take one day and talk to the kids in your classrooms about Earth Day, but it's just snowballed into this awareness. And I'm not sure if I talked about this last year or not. I've had the honor and pleasure of visiting El Salvador. It's become kind of my second home from a college buddy that I've been there 39 times over 25 plus years. And what's interesting about it is there's a great beach called Costa del Sol, and it's on the Pacific Ocean. I love going there. I loved it because it was undeveloped when I first started going. It's been more construction. But anyway, walking along that beach in those years in the 90s when I was there, you saw a little bit of trash, but not a lot. The last time I was there in 2019, the amount of plastic straws and bottles and all the crap washing up onto the shores was just sad. and it makes a person like me think from Southwest Wisconsin, wow, a guy that grew up in rural Wisconsin ends up living a dream, in my opinion, realizing his dreams of being a U.S. senator and then a governor, and had an idea, and he's bringing awareness and making people do each of our little part in reusable containers. And you think, well, what does that do? Well, everything together, Tia, adds up to a bigger thing.
Yeah, reducing single-use plastic is a good entry point for individual action for all of us, and even those plastic containers, probably the water bottle you had last year. Congratulations on switching to a reusable
Even an
bottle.
old dog learning new tricks.
I'm proud that all three of us bought our own reusable bottles here. Even very little of that is actually being recycled, even if you're putting it in a proper recycling container. And there are so many other individual actions, and it's easy to wonder whether they make a difference. And I would put forward the philosophy that it makes a difference for two reasons. One, cumulatively, it does have an impact on the environment, the amount of pollution you're seeing on the beach in El Salvador. But it's important that we get up in the morning and that we live our values, and it's a part of how I, guide my life day to day. My big challenge, I'm pretty good at avoiding single-use plastic. My big challenge, and it's an interesting one, and it's one that has the potential to save people a lot of money, is reducing food waste. If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the world after the United States and China. And so, and I like to garden, and I compost my food scraps. But there's something all of us can do to tread more lightly on this earth, and it matters.
Want to get to the phones? We have Dick standing by in Madison, listening on WMDX 855-752-4842. If you'd like to join us with a question on Earth Day or a remembrance of Governor Nelson or of Earth Day, 855-752-4842. You could also text us on the Civic Media app. Dick in Madison. Dick, thanks for calling in. What do you have to say, Dick?
I had the pleasure of meeting your father at his book signing at Borders Books. And my daughter was in 5th grade at the time, got the book for her. And it was an interesting night because my old neighbor happened to be in line. And it turned out that his father had went to school with your dad.
Oh, nice.
Back in the day. And I'm like, wow, this is just too strange. Art and I were both. And he also knew the origins of my daughter's name is Maura. And he knew more about it than I did.
Yeah, that sounds like Dad.
Pretty different. Yep.
Thanks,
Great
Dick. I appreciate you calling in and sharing that. That has to be cool for you. There's stories like this all over Wisconsin of people who knew your dad in one capacity or another. But again, the generational impact that he made.
Yes, it's quite, I feel quite fortunate. I feel very blessed, actually, that, he was a really good guy. He wasn't just a dedicated public servant and a strong leader and someone who accomplished a lot in the public world that's recognized. He was hysterically funny. He and so kind and humble. So I'm really lucky, and to this day, people stop me and tell me some fond story or memory, either they had or maybe they heard it from their grandfather. I still get stuff in the mail. Someone's cleaning out their parents' house after their parents have passed away, and they find pictures that the parents have saved, or letters or correspondence with my dad. He was quite a letter writer, and they send them to me. It's very, very touching. I'm enormously grateful.
Yeah. Wonderful man, wonderful public servant, former governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson. Coming up on a break here, give you a little tease. When we come back, James is going to give us a history lesson and something that I did not know a lot about. I think this is an undertold story, the history of black Americans and how they helped literally build the U.S. National Park System. Talk about that. Take your phone calls as well, 855-752-4842, and your texts on the Civic Media app. We are live on location at Governor Nelson State Park on this Earth Day 2025 across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Great conversation, 92.7 WMDX. You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Today is Earth Day, and some of our most important natural resources here in Madison are our lakes. A study from the Clean Lakes Alliance shows that our 5 lakes in Madison generate $220 million in revenue each year. And a new report names Madison one of the top 10 places to live in the nation. Livability.com compiled information about hundreds of cities across the country, including education, available healthcare, public transportation, and they gave Madison a livability score of 700. Now, if you want to do some volunteer work around Earth Day, the Madison Parks Department is hosting its biggest volunteer cleanup effort this weekend. People will clean more than 60 parks across the city. That's on Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. People over age 14 must register beforehand. The city has been doing this for Earth Day for almost 30 years. To sign up, we have all the info you need at WMDXradio.com. Meanwhile, if you know a talented teenage artist who appreciates the outdoors, their work could end up on state park passes all over Wisconsin. Melissa Kay explains.
High school students can submit designs for next year's Wisconsin State Park and Forest Vehicle Admission passes. This is for all high school-age students in Wisconsin. The artwork should focus on outdoor recreation, animals, or plants. Steve Schmelzer is the Parks and Recreation Management Bureau Director. He said this is a great opportunity for students to blend their artistic passion and interest in our natural resources. He's grateful for all of the students who submit artwork and said it's never an easy choice to pick just one design. The vehicle admission passes provide access to more than 60 state park, forest, and recreation area properties across Wisconsin. The design contest is open now through April 30th.
That's Melissa Kay. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Hayden Christensen returns to the Star Wars franchise as Anakin Skywalker. He will join the cast of Ahsoka for Season 2 and play himself as a teenager. The actor broke the news at a Star Wars event in Tokyo, Japan. Christensen first played the character in 2002 in Attack of the Clones and then in Revenge of the Sith. He appeared in 2 episodes of Ahsoka Season 1. Season 2 is expected to drop in 2026 after the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu. The amount of inside Hollywood information spilled on the Happy Sad Confused podcast to host Josh Horowitz must be overwhelming at times. Emilio Estevez appeared recently and shared the story of his father, Martin Sheen's drunken meltdown on the set of Apocalypse Now, in which Sheen ran naked around the set while trying to be corralled by Estevez and his mother. Hard to imagine this kind of behavior from the Sheen patriarch. Sounds more like a Charlie Sheen kind of thing.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm with high temperatures today making it to the mid-60s. Drying things out tonight, the clouds actually start to clear, and for tomorrow, we warm things up with high temperatures tapping 70. More rain rolls in by the afternoon and brings some thunderstorms with it too. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
Day 1, the hardest day. The day you hear,
"This is a type of blood cancer.
But day one is just one day. At the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we are here to help you move past day one.
On day 45, I discovered an online community who shared great tips for in-treatment care.
I missed a lot of school during treatment, and LLS helped me keep up.
To learn more and get help on day 2, day 28, or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955-4572.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
If you could change your name, if you could pick your own name, what would you change it to? Daniel Wheeler says, linguistically, Pete's last name is interesting because it requires a wet mouth. Requires a wet mouth.
30 seconds, and please make sure to unmute yourself.
Like, that's it? And he's like, yeah. Like, well, I could do that. So they kind of had long story short, they had a falling out because Sage's vision is, yes, he's a Democrat. We don't hide that. But he's like, just tell the truth, and the chips will fall where they may. So that's where we are.
How many stations you got?
We're now like 26, 27.
All in Wisconsin.
Yeah, all in Wisconsin. Oh, they just bought a station in Ely, Minnesota.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I love Ely.
Yeah, we just bought it. Here we go.
Very cool.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. We are on location for this Earth Day 2025, the 55th anniversary of Earth Day. We are in Governor Nelson State Park on what has turned out to be an absolutely picture-perfect day. The clouds are parting. The sun is here. Lake Mendota lapping up against the shores. There are no swimmers yet, but the beach is almost ready to go. We are live here on location with Tia Nelson. She is the daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson, for whom this park is named. And also joining us at the desk on location, James Edward Mills, a freelance journalist and also a fellow of the Nelson Institute. They will be appearing on the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus tonight at 7 o'clock. You can find out more at earthfest.wisc.edu. That's earthfest.wisc.edu. Thank you, Mr. Zommers, for finding that and putting it up on the StreamYard there for people watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twix, X, whatever you want to call it. And also we'll have that on the show notes as well. And you want to join us, call in, give us a call. We'd love to hear your Earth Day thoughts, remembrances of either Governor Nelson or of Earth Day proper. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. And you can also text us on the Civic Media app. If you don't have it, it's easy enough. Go to your app store on your Apple or Android device. Type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media. It'll pop up. Click on that. It'll take less than a minute to download. It is free. As we say, it's what CBS's Gayle King calls a deal. The Civic Media app. Download it today. Well, she doesn't say that. She says that about the CBS morning app, so I assume she'd say it about ours as well. That's why I say that. Guys, I appreciate you both so much being here. Tia, you joined us from Seattle last year. It's so cool to have you here in person. I know it means a lot to you, this park, but it really means a lot to me because earlier I said, as a kid that grew up with a single mom most of my life and my sister, we spent time here as kids because it was something that my mom could do for, the price of gas to get us here from Richland Center. But the park sticker, I forget what it was in the 90s. But I mean, still, it's $28 for the year now. Yeah. Right. And again, your father's legacy and this park system, it is something that is accessible. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it's open to almost everyone of all social, economic, racial classes in Wisconsin. It's for all of us in Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, having access to the outdoors is part of who we are, and as Wisconsinites, over 90% of the citizens of this state live within 1 mile of a stewardship acquired property. This particular park is one of the few urban parks in the state park system. Here we are. We can see the Capitol across Lake Mendota from here, and it's a regular destination for me and a beautiful example of prairie restoration. This is an old oak prairie ecosystem, one of my favorites, and and it's right in the back door of the cities, given all kinds of opportunities, whether it's the trails or the boat launch or the beach we're sitting here by, for the picnic tables we're sitting at. So there's something for everybody. And I'm really proud of it.
And you should be. James, I want to talk a little bit about your expertise here, which is our national park system coming up at 125 years next year. We're at 124, but I'm always a little bit ahead, it seems like, except when I show up for places, I'm late. But on history, I'm trying to be ahead. So I'm a huge, I love the Ken Burns series on our national parks. As a former Republican, one of the former Republican presidents I'm proud of is Teddy Roosevelt, who helped to establish and grow the state, or the national park system, rather. But tell us a little bit about the park's anniversary coming up writ large, 125 years. But then this is a unique story to me. The folks that built the park system, there's a whole story here of Black Americans who are integral in making sure that we have the system we have today.
Sure. So I started my career in outdoor recreation primarily as a sales representative, and very early on I realized that there was very few people that looked like me. There weren't very many African Americans, people of color, who were engaged and involved in this. And when I became a journalist in 2009, I had the honor of actually interviewing Ken Burns in advance of
Did you
the
really?
film.
Wow.
And I'd written several stories prior to this conversation about the role of people of color in the preservation of public land. And I asked him, point blank, how are you going to tell the story of people of color and the role that we played in creating these amazing places? And in this interview, he tells me the story of 400 African American men, members of the U.S. Cavalry called the Buffalo Soldiers, that were stationed in Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks in 1903. Now, I grew up in California. I was a rock climbing instructor and a wilderness guide in the Sierras. I'd been to Yosemite many times. In fact, my parents honeymooned in Yosemite.
Wow.
And I'm hearing this story for the very first time. Here I am in my late 40s. And I'm thinking that if I hadn't heard this story before, that means that probably millions of people have never heard this story either. And so I started doing a lot more digging into the history of our national parks. And when you take a look at the long arc, of how it is that we, got to where we are right now, shortly after the American Civil War during the Reconstruction era, you have the first 7 African American members of the U.S. House of Representatives. 7 black men, primarily from the South, were part of the U.S. Congress between 1870 and 1871. And it was during this Congress that the Yellowstone Act was created that dedicated land for the, quote, for the enjoyment and benefit of the people. And 7 black men had the opportunity to vote on that. And from that, through the expansion of the West, African Americans were engaged in protecting and patrolling the newly designated park at Yellowstone from Fort Missoula, Montana. And it was at this time that we have the first designation of public land as a federal institution. Shortly after that, Yosemite becomes a national park. If you go on through the annals of history, you can take a look at the fact that W.E.B. Du Bois in 1920 visited Grand Canyon in a trip that was sponsored by the NAACP. And he said that why do not those who are hurt by the world's hardship and made to suffer in the world's wars and battles come to these places and drown themselves in the utter joy of life. And we have this very beginning of the conversation around how we can start protecting and preserving our national parks. And in the 1930s, during the Depression, during the time of the Civilian Conservation Corps, a unit called Unit 818 of the Civilian Conservation Corps was an integrated but primarily African American unit that built many of the trails leading down into Kaibab and the Bright Angel Trail, as well as the areas around Phantom Ranch. And so when we stop and think about how it is that we have so much public land, people of color were actually engaged and involved in much of the earliest development. But sadly, it was during the administration of Woodrow Wilson, where we have the first Southern Democrat elected to the U.S. presidency since Lincoln. And he brought in much of the Jim Crow segregation in the South into the federal government. And he succeeded in segregating the U.S. Army shortly after the onset of World War I, segregated the U.S. Postal Service, and the newly designated National Park Service in 1916.
Wow.
Okay, so the same men who had protected and patrolled Yosemite in 1903 went on to serve with the Harlem Hellfighters in World War I, couldn't come back to civilian life to become National Park Rangers. And that would be true until 1953. Shortly after, well, not shortly, actually, a little bit after the end of World War II, Eleanor Roosevelt with Mary McLeod Bethune and the Black Council under FDR, and then Harry Truman desegregated our national parks. And it wasn't until 1963 that you had the active recruitment of national park rangers who are people of color. A man by the name of Bob Stanton, 83 years old today, but he was the very first national park ranger recruited to patrol the park at Grand Teton National Park, not far from Yellowstone. And he went on to become the very first superintendent of a national park since the great Captain Charles Young was the superintendent of Sequoia National Park in 1903. And then finally, in 1979, under the auspices of Bill Clinton, he became the first black director of the National Park Service. And so we have this wonderful story of exploration and conservation, but also adventure. Shortly after the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1963, Ebony Magazine profiled a climber by the name of Charles Madison Crenshaw. In 7 days after the signing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, he became the first Black American to summit Denali National Park in Alaska. And it was then called Mount McKinley, and then it was named Denali under the aegis of Barack Obama in 2016. So we have a really long heritage that continues to this day, and I'm really happy to be able to share these stories with folks here in Wisconsin. I teach a class on much of what I shared with you at the Nelson Institute called Outdoors for All, where we have a lengthy conversation about the long historic narrative of the roles that so many people have played in natural resources that are frankly all of ours to enjoy.
We are speaking right now with James Edward Mills, and a journalist, freelance journalist, and fellow at the Nelson Institute, and Tia Nelson, daughter of former Wisconsin Governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson. Here on Earth Day, we were at Governor Nelson State Park. James, I'm just mesmerized listening to that history and the fact you just have it all in your head. Any historian like that, I'm envious of. But again, and not to get too deep into current day politics, but I don't know that in my lifetime those stories need to be told more than now, because we're seeing, the current administration wiping away history, particularly history of people of color in this country. And these stories need to be told over and over and over again to current generations, because I just think we're richer for it. When we realize that, I don't want to quote Joe Biden too much, but I mean, we have come up short in American history, right? We have left people behind, but you realize that this country, maybe more than any other, the melting pot and the rich history, we are better because of our differences.
Absolutely. And it's really fascinating to me because much of the history that I just shared with you, I only learned a couple of years ago.
Wow.
I didn't grow up with this. I certainly wasn't taught it in school. I don't read it in books. It's not part of our popular culture. But the evidence is all around us if we take the time to look. When we stop and think about, for example, the Lewis and Clark expedition included an enslaved man by the name of York, who, as a person of color, was able to make direct relationships with Native people. And there are many people who suggest that had it not been for him, these white guys from Virginia never would have made it out of Iowa.
I believe that. I mean, really,
And so it is that part of the narrative. But when the expedition was over, York was remanded back into slavery. And was not given his just due.
Wow.
And
Incredible.
And it's really not until later in history that we have the opportunity to acknowledge the contributions that someone like him made. And it just so happens that, and I looked this up very recently, under the Clinton administration, again, York was actually posthumously given the rank of sergeant. As a military expedition, he was the one person who wasn't active military at the time, though he had many of the same responsibilities. Ironically, the same thing was actually issued to Harriet Tubman. Just last year, the Maryland National Guard posthumously gave her the rank of one-star general. For having been the very first woman to execute a military operation in a time of war. She led the Combahee River Raid in South Carolina, where she personally liberated 700 enslaved people.
Fascinating. We'll come back, talk more about this with James Edward Mills and Tia Nelson. Your phone calls, stay with us. We see you on the lines. We'll get to those after this. It's the Allbaugh Show on location, Earth Day, from Governor Nelson State Park. You're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Computer experts at Madison Computer Works. Every day we help home users and businesses keep their computers and networks running smoothly. For solutions to your computer problems, call the pros at 231-8000 and we'll turn this into this. Madison Computer Works. Computers that work for you.
Madison, get ready to sizzle. Come into Ko-Ro Hut Korean Barbecue and Hot Pot, Easttown Mall. Indulge in all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue with the freshest meats grilled right at your table. Wash it down with boba tea. Enjoy the pleasant atmosphere. Ko-Ro Korean Barbecue and Hot Pot.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In recent months, Milwaukee health officials have uncovered significant lead hazards in city schools, mostly due to lead-based paint. Several schools have now been closed as the problem has been found to be more widespread. In late March, city officials formally requested help from the CDC, but in doing so, they learned that the CDC's entire lead program had been eliminated by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This is a major problem. Children in the state's largest city are being exposed to lead poisoning at their schools, and the Trump administration is not only refusing to provide assistance, they are eliminating the entire lead program that would help in cases like this one. Now, state and local officials must step up to do something for these kids, since Trump and RFK Jr.
30
are
seconds.
gutting federal support. Milwaukee's children.
All right, here we
Get
go.
that for the museum. That would be amazing.
Yeah. 10 more minutes. 9. You like your task cam?
I do. That's really nice. Yeah.
Who picks the music?
Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us here live on location from Governor Nelson State Park at about 9 minutes before the hour of 2 o'clock. We are here for Earth Day. Coming up at the top of the hour, CBS or ABC News, depending upon which of our great stations across the state you're listening to. A weather update. I'll give you the weather update. It's nice. Here, at least here in the shores of Lake Mendota, the sun is out. It's turning into a beautiful day. And then our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, talking about the draft, of course, which is underway this week on Thursday and Friday. We'll have reports from Mike and other folks as well on the draft. And then the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon, or at least for today, from 2 until 4. And later on, Pete Schwaba and Nightlight from 6 until 8. I say that about Maggie's show because tomorrow, folks, if you haven't heard, the big switch is underway. Maggie will move from her current slot till 4 until 6. And Zommers and I, have we got things packed and we got 2 men in a truck and we ready to go? We're moving from our current time slot 2 hours later. here. We will follow Tom Hartman every afternoon and be with you starting tomorrow at 2 o'clock from 2 until 4. Zommers, have we got the alarm set in the studio?
Wait, we're moving? No, I'm kidding. No,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
we're set to go.
moving,
We're set to go.
Zommers. So it's going to be Kreitlow 6 until 8 in the morning, Pat Kreitlow mornings. Then Jane Matnair and Greg Matnair on air from 9 until 11. It's going to be Hartman, Tom Hartman, 11 until 2, us 2 to 4, and then Maggie Dawn 4 until 6, followed by Pete Schwaba 6 until 8. That's the new lineup that kicks off tomorrow. Excited about that. Excited to have our guests here at Governor Nelson State Park, James Edward Mills, journalist, freelance journalist, and fellow at the Nelson Institute, and Tia Nelson, daughter of the esteemed former Wisconsin governor and U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson. I want to go right to the phone lines, 855-752-4842. Matt in Middleton, listening on WMDX. Matt, you've been patient. We appreciate it. You wanted to talk a little bit. I have a question here on Earth Day. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks.
Appreciate
how Mr. Nelson, Governor Nelson, and would have thought about Trump and the attack on the EPA, wanting to drill. And here in Wisconsin, they want to fast-track Line 5, which is dangerous for our Great Lakes and that precious resource here. How can we fight that, and what would Governor Nelson have done about that?
Thanks,
I'm just
Matt.
curious how his daughter feels
Tia?
about that. Thank you.
Well, thanks for your question, Matt, and for your interest. I, want to remind your listeners, Todd, that the first, today's the 55th anniversary. The first Earth Day, April 22nd, 1970, led to the passage of more environmental laws than any other time in American history, and a Republican president, Richard Nixon, created the Environmental Protection Agency to protect everyone's right to breathe clean air and drink clean water. So, it doesn't take a lot to understand that the threats against the agency that is tasked with protecting all citizens' rights to a clean environment is under attack, and it's greatly disconcerting to me. It certainly would be to my father, and I think what his response would be to talk about how the issue of the environment is not a partisan issue, and how people came together to do the right thing to protect the environment for the benefit of everyone, and that I take some sense of comfort in knowing it used to be different. To me, that means it can be different going forward, and I think we as citizens of this great country are called now, perhaps more than ever, to use our voices to express our support for environmental protections. The elected officials have to respond to those who vote for them. So, it's time to use your voice.
Yeah, James, as a former Republican myself, I looked at people like Teddy Roosevelt, but President Eisenhower, even in this case, as Tia said, former President Nixon, a guy like Tommy Thompson, former Republican governor, who Tia has pointed out actually put more land into public's trust than even her father did. From a historical standpoint, as a journalist who knows history so well, again, I think answers can be found in history. About 2 minutes left here. What's your takeaway for the future based on national parks and what we've done here, even the state of Wisconsin?
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said for protecting and preserving our public lands in general. And the great thing about it is the writing's kind of on the walls at this point, because during the first Trump administration, we had a lifting of the restrictions of drilling in the Arctic. And oddly enough, market forces prevented it from becoming a national issue. It's really expensive to drill in the Arctic because we have alternative energy is bringing the price of oil down, so that ultimately I think that if we have a combination of letting the markets speak, but also demand. And the demand for a lot of people right now is renewable resources, alternative vehicles, electrics. I mean, all the things that allow us to make physical personal investments in environmental protection, the governments, named frankly the legislators, need to listen to the people when they say, this is important to us. We will suffer the inconvenient truths of having to only have one car, perhaps, or driving shorter distances, or using more fuel-efficient vehicles.
Tia Nelson, going to give you 20 seconds for the last word.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Yeah, but do I need to be more clever than that?
No,
you caught me by surprise. Individual action matters. Use your voice and enjoy the great outdoors in the beautiful state of Wisconsin.
James Edward Mills, great freelance journalist. You can see him and Tia Nelson tonight at UW-Madison at 7 o'clock, earthfest.wisc.edu. Thank you both for being here. Thanks for your father, and on behalf of all of us in Wisconsin. He was a great guy.
Thanks for having us.
We appreciate it. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Zommers, you got our promo for tomorrow then? All done? We're all set?
We are
all right,
set.
great job today. Did it the technology hold up?